The cameras never lie, but they don't always tell the whole truth either. On February 9, 2026, as London's Royal Festival Hall buzzed with Hollywood's finest, two figures stepped onto the red carpet and changed everything. Not with scandal or controversy, but with something far more powerful: genuine connection in an age of carefully crafted images. What started as another royal duty became a masterclass in authentic leadership. What began as a traditional awards ceremony transformed into a cultural moment that would ripple across social media, reshape public perception, and remind the world why the monarchy still matters in the 21st century. This is the story of how Prince William and Princess Catherine didn't just attend the BAFTAs, they redefined what it means to be royal in the modern era, one unscripted moment at a time. The February evening air carried that particular London chill that makes even the most glamorous events feel intimate. Outside the Royal Festival Hall, barriers held back hundreds of fans who had waited since dawn, their breath visible in small clouds as they clutched programs and phones, hoping for that perfect shot. The red carpet stretched like a river of possibility beneath the harsh glare of photographers' flashes. Inside the venue, the atmosphere hummed with nervous energy. Celebrities adjusted their gowns and straightened their bow ties, while production assistants scurried between seats with clipboards and earpieces. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts had pulled out all the stops for their 2026 ceremony, but everyone knew the real stars of the evening would be the royal guests of honor. Catherine emerged from the car first, her emerald green gown catching the light like captured starlight. The dress, a stunning creation by British designer Erdem, featured intricate beadwork that seemed to shift and dance with every movement. But it wasn't just the dress that stopped conversations mid-sentence, it was the way she carried herself, with a confidence that had grown stronger with each passing year of royal duties. William followed, looking distinguished in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, the familiar warmth in his eyes immediately evident to the crowd. As they walked together toward the entrance, something remarkable happened. Instead of the usual formal procession, they paused to genuinely engage with the waiting fans. A young girl pressed against the barrier caught Catherine's attention. The princess noticed the child's homemade sign that read "Thank you for caring about kids like me" in careful, colorful letters. Without hesitation, Catherine broke from the planned route and approached the barrier. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Catherine asked, crouching down to the girl's eye level, completely ignoring the dozen cameras capturing every angle. "Emma," the girl whispered, suddenly shy in the presence of royalty. "Emma, that's a beautiful name. And this sign, did you make it yourself?" Catherine's voice carried genuine interest, not the practiced politeness often associated with royal interactions. The girl nodded eagerly, her nervousness melting away. "I wanted to thank you for the playground you helped build at our school. It's the best one in our whole town now." William joined the conversation, his natural ease with children immediately apparent. "A playground, you say? I bet you're the fastest on the swings." Emma giggled. "Actually, I like the climbing frame best. I can see my whole street from the top." The royal couple spent nearly 10 minutes at that barrier, talking with Emma and several other children. They asked about school, favorite subjects, and weekend plans. Camera flashes exploded around them, but William and Catherine seemed genuinely oblivious to the media frenzy they were creating. Security teams shifted nervously, conscious of the schedule delays, but the royals' personal protection officers had learned long ago that these spontaneous moments of connection were becoming increasingly important to both William and Catherine. They weren't just fulfilling royal duties, they were building bridges between the monarchy and the people it served. As they finally moved toward the entrance, the crowd's cheers reached a crescendo. But something had shifted. This wasn't the polite applause typically reserved for royal appearances. This was genuine affection, earned through authentic interaction. Inside the venue, industry professionals who had witnessed the barrier interaction through the live feed on screens throughout the building began talking. Veteran entertainment journalists, cynical after decades of covering manufactured moments, found themselves impressed by what they had just witnessed. "Did you see that?" whispered Sarah Chen, a respected film critic, to her colleague. "That wasn't staged. The way that little girl's face lit up, you can't fake that kind of genuine connection." The evening's host, comedian James Corden, was backstage reviewing his opening monologue when he caught the footage on a monitor.
He immediately began scribbling notes in the margins of his script.
This wasn't just another celebrity appearance, this was something worth acknowledging properly. As William and Catherine took their seats in the front row, the energy in the room was palpable. Fellow attendees kept glancing their way, not with the usual mixture of curiosity and formality, but with something approaching admiration. The barrier interaction had already begun circulating on social media, with the hashtag #RealRoyalty trending within minutes. The ceremony began with a montage celebrating British cinema's achievements over the past year. As images of groundbreaking films, innovative documentaries, and breakthrough performances filled the massive screen, the audience settled into the familiar rhythm of award show entertainment.
But something was different about this particular evening.
Perhaps it was the presence of the royal couple, or maybe it was the energy they had brought from their genuine interaction outside, but the atmosphere felt more electric than usual.
Nominees seemed less nervous, presenters more relaxed, and even the typically stiff industry executives appeared to be enjoying themselves.
When James Corden took the stage for his opening monologue, he looked directly at William and Catherine in the front row.
"Ladies and gentlemen, we have some very special guests with us tonight.
And I have to say, after watching them outside with those children, I'm beginning to understand why the British people love them so much. They didn't just wave and walk by, they stopped, they listened, and they cared." In an industry where authenticity is often scripted, it's refreshing to see the real thing. The camera captured William and Catherine's reaction, slight surprise at being mentioned so prominently, followed by warm smiles and a brief, private exchange between them. Their body language suggested comfort and genuine partnership, a far cry from the formal posture often associated with royal appearances. As the evening progressed through various award categories, the royal couple's presence seemed to elevate the entire event. When winners gave their acceptance speeches, many took a moment to acknowledge their royal guests, not with formal deference but with the kind of recognition reserved for people they genuinely respected.
The breakthrough moment came during the presentation of the Outstanding British Film Award.
As the nominees were announced, the camera panned across the audience, capturing reactions from directors, producers, and stars. When it lingered on William and Catherine, they weren't sitting rigidly or maintaining formal composure. Instead, they were leaning forward with genuine interest, occasionally whispering to each other like any other couple enjoying a night out. The winner, a low-budget independent film about mental health awareness in teenagers, had been championed by several charities that both William and Catherine supported through their Royal Foundation work. When the young director took the stage, visibly emotional and clearly overwhelmed, he spotted the royal couple in the audience. "I have to say," he began, his voice shaking slightly, "when we started this project, we never imagined it would reach so many people. But seeing your Royal Highnesses here tonight, knowing that you support the causes we're trying to highlight, it means everything to our entire team." The camera caught Catherine wiping away a tear, and William placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. The moment wasn't calculated for maximum emotional impact, it was simply two people being moved by someone's genuine passion and vulnerability. During the commercial break that followed, something unprecedented happened. Instead of remaining in their seats as protocol would typically dictate, William and Catherine stood and made their way through the audience to personally congratulate the award winner and his team. The gesture required their security detail to quickly adapt, but the royal couple seemed determined to make this personal connection. The young director later described the encounter to reporters. "They didn't just say congratulations and move on. Prince William asked specific questions about our research process, and Princess Catherine wanted to know how we were supporting the young actors who had shared their own mental health struggles in the film. They really understood what we were trying to accomplish." As the evening continued, word of these interactions spread through the venue. Soon, other attendees began approaching the royal couple during breaks, not for photo opportunities or formal introductions, but for genuine conversations about shared interests and common causes. The transformation was remarkable to witness. What had started as a traditional royal appearance was evolving into something much more significant, a demonstration of how modern monarchy could engage authentically with contemporary culture and social issues. By the time the first half of the ceremony concluded with the intermission, social media was buzzing with clips and photos from throughout the evening. But these weren't the usual formal shots of royals at public events.
Instead, they captured moments of genuine laughter, engaged conversation, and authentic emotion.
The evening was far from over, but already it was clear that this BAFTA ceremony would be remembered not just for the films it celebrated, but for the way two members of the royal family had redefined what it meant to be present at such an event. They weren't there as distant figures fulfilling an obligation, they were there as engaged, caring individuals who genuinely wanted to support and celebrate the British film industry's achievements. As the lights dimmed for the ceremony's second half, William and Catherine settled back into their seats, but the energy in the room had permanently shifted. They had set a new standard for royal engagement, one that would influence how they approached public appearances for years to come. The evening had become a masterclass in authentic leadership, and everyone in attendance knew they were witnessing something special. The second half of the ceremony opened with a tribute to British cinema's impact on global culture. As the lights came up after the intermission, the atmosphere in the Royal Festival Hall had shifted noticeably. Conversations buzzed with excitement about the royal couple's unexpected interactions during the break, and phones discreetly captured moments that were already becoming viral sensations online. Catherine had changed during intermission, appearing in a stunning midnight blue gown that complemented her earlier emerald choice. The wardrobe change itself became a talking point. It demonstrated a level of commitment to the event that went beyond mere attendance. This wasn't just a royal duty being fulfilled, this was active participation in celebrating British artistic achievement. William remained in his classic tuxedo, but observers noticed he had swapped his formal pocket square for one featuring a subtle pattern representing the BAFTA logo, a small gesture that showed attention to detail and respect for the organization hosting them. As they returned to their seats, several A-list celebrities approached them with genuine warmth. Helen Mirren, herself no stranger to portraying royalty, shared a private joke that had all three laughing genuinely. The moment was captured by photographers, but rather than feeling intrusive, the images conveyed authentic connection between people who clearly enjoyed each other's company. The evening's most significant moment came during the presentation of the BAFTA Fellowship, the Academy's highest honor. This year's recipient was Sir Ian McKellen, being recognized for his extraordinary contribution to British theatre and cinema over 6 decades. As the legendary actor took the stage to thunderous applause, he paused to look directly at William and Catherine. "Your Royal Highnesses," he began, his voice carrying the gravitas that had made him a theatrical icon, "your presence here tonight represents something profound about the relationship between tradition and creativity in our culture. You understand that art isn't just entertainment, it's how we make sense of our world, how we build empathy, and how we imagine better futures." The camera captured Catherine nodding thoughtfully, clearly engaged with McKellen's words. William leaned forward, his full attention focused on the stage. Their body language conveyed deep respect for not just the man speaking, but for the ideas he was expressing. McKellen continued, "In my early career, royal patronage of the arts felt ceremonial, important but distant. Tonight, seeing how you engage with our community, how you understand the real impact of storytelling, I'm reminded that the best traditions are the ones that grow and adapt while maintaining their essential purpose." The speech resonated throughout the venue, but it particularly seemed to impact the royal couple. When McKellen finished and the standing ovation began, William and Catherine rose immediately, their applause lasting longer than protocol would typically require. During the next commercial break, something unprecedented occurred. McKellen approached their seats, and what followed was a 15-minute conversation that would later be described by witnesses as like watching three old friends discuss their shared passion. They talked about the therapeutic value of drama programs in schools, the importance of accessible theater, and the role of storytelling in building community understanding. A nearby film executive later told reporters, "I'd been to dozens of events with various royals over the years, and it's usually pleasant but formal. This was different." Prince William was asking specific questions about funding challenges for regional theaters, and Princess Catherine clearly knew details about drama therapy programs for traumatized children. They weren't just being polite, they really understood the work. The conversation was interrupted by the ceremony's resumption, but McKellen's parting words to the royal couple were captured by a nearby microphone. "Thank you for seeing us as more than entertainment. Thank you for understanding that what we do matters." As the ceremony continued, the royal couple's engagement remained consistently authentic. When a documentary about climate change won the Outstanding Documentary Award, both William and Catherine stood for the applause, clearly moved by the film's environmental message, a cause both had championed for years. The winner, filmmaker Sarah Johnson, used her acceptance speech to highlight how her documentary had been supported by grants from environmental organizations backed by the Prince of Wales's charitable foundation. She looked directly at William as she spoke. "Your Royal Highness, your early support for this project didn't just provide funding, it gave us credibility when we were trying to convince people that this story needed to be told." William's response was subtle but powerful. He placed his hand over his heart briefly, a gesture of acknowledgement that the camera caught and that immediately began circulating on social media as an example of humble leadership. The evening's emotional peak came during the presentation of the Rising Star Award, given to promising young talent in British cinema. This year's winner was Marcus Thompson, a 23-year-old actor from Manchester whose breakthrough performance in a film about urban youth had earned critical acclaim and audience devotion. As Thompson took the stage, visibly nervous but beaming with joy, he paused to collect himself before speaking. "This award represents so much more than recognition for my work," he began. "It represents hope for kids like me, who grew up thinking that opportunities like this weren't meant for people from our neighborhoods." The camera panned to William and Catherine, both clearly moved by the young man's words. Catherine was photographed dabbing her eyes with a tissue, while William sat forward in his seat, completely focused on the speech. Thompson continued, "But I want to say something specific about tonight. Seeing their Royal Highnesses here, seeing how they've engaged with everyone, not just the famous people, but the crew members, the young filmmakers, the students in the audience, it shows me that change is really possible. That barriers really can come down when people choose to see each other as human beings first." The standing ovation that followed was unlike any other that evening. It seemed to capture something essential about the event's transformed atmosphere. This wasn't just appreciation for an acceptance speech, it was recognition of a moment when traditional hierarchies had given way to genuine human connection. During the final commercial break of the evening, Thompson's words seemed to catalyze something remarkable. Several young attendees, film students, emerging actors, junior crew members who would typically remain invisible at such events, found themselves in conversations with the royal couple. One film student from Birmingham later described the encounter: "I was just trying to get a photo of the stage for my portfolio when Princess Catherine noticed my camera and asked about my studies. Before I knew it, she and Prince William were asking about my final project, giving advice about funding applications, and connecting me with people in the industry who might be able to help. It wasn't a quick photo opportunity, they spent 20 minutes really listening to what I was trying to accomplish." These interactions created a ripple effect throughout the venue. Senior industry figures began introducing younger colleagues to the royal couple, creating networking opportunities that would have been unimaginable at a traditional formal event. The hierarchy that typically characterized such gatherings seemed to dissolve, replaced by a sense of shared purpose and mutual respect. As the ceremony approached its conclusion with the presentation of the final awards, the transformation in the room's atmosphere was complete. What had begun as a traditional award ceremony with royal guests had evolved into something much more significant, a celebration of British cinema that felt genuinely inclusive and forward-looking. The penultimate award, for Outstanding British Contribution to Cinema, went to a collective of filmmakers who had worked to increase diversity and representation in British film. As they accepted the award, their spokesperson addressed the royal couple directly: "Your presence here tonight, and, more importantly, the way you've engaged with our community, sends a powerful message about the kind of future we're building together." William and Catherine exchanged a look that was captured by photographers, a moment of quiet communication between partners who clearly understood the significance of what was happening around them. They weren't just witnessing history, they were helping to create it. As the evening moved toward its climax with the final award, everyone in the venue understood that they had participated in something special. The barrier between royalty and subjects hadn't just been lowered, it had been reimagined entirely. The royal couple hadn't diminished their dignity by engaging authentically with people, they had enhanced it by demonstrating that true nobility comes from genuine care and connection. The final commercial break saw a remarkable scene: clusters of conversations throughout the venue that included the royal couple, industry veterans, emerging talent, and creative professionals from every level of the film industry. The formal seating arrangement had given way to organic groupings based on shared interests and genuine connections. A veteran film critic, watching from the balcony, later wrote, "In 30 years of covering awards ceremonies, I had never seen anything like it." The room felt electric with possibility, as if everyone understood they were witnessing a new model for how public figures could engage with the communities they serve. It wasn't about celebrity or spectacle, it was about shared humanity and common purpose. As the lights dimmed for the ceremony's conclusion, the royal couple returned to their seats, but the energy they had helped create continued to pulse through the venue. They had redefined what it meant to be present at such an event, transforming a formal obligation into an authentic celebration of creative community and shared values. The final award of the evening was always the most anticipated, the BAFTA for Outstanding British Film. As presenter Olivia Colman took the stage, she paused to acknowledge the atmosphere that had developed throughout the ceremony. "This has been an extraordinary evening," she began, "and I think we can all feel that something special is happening in this room tonight." The camera panned across the audience, capturing faces that reflected engagement, excitement, and genuine community spirit. When it lingered on William and Catherine, they appeared relaxed and happy, completely integrated into the celebration around them rather than separate from it. The nominees for Outstanding British Film represented the diversity and innovation of contemporary British cinema, a period drama exploring colonial history, an urban comedy about immigrant experiences, a psychological thriller set in the Scottish Highlands, a documentary about climate activism, and an experimental film that pushed the boundaries of conventional storytelling. As Coleman opened the envelope, the tension in the room was palpable. "The winner is..." She paused for dramatic effect, "Bridges We Build," directed by Amara Okafor. The audience erupted in applause as Okafor, a British-Nigerian filmmaker, made her way to the stage. Her film, which explored themes of cultural identity and belonging in modern Britain, had been both a critical success and a box office surprise. As she reached the podium, visibly emotional, she took a moment to compose herself before speaking. "This film started as a very personal story," she began, her voice strong despite her obvious emotion. "It was born from questions about identity, belonging, and what it means to be British in the 21st century. To receive this recognition, especially on a night when we've seen such beautiful examples of connection across traditional boundaries, feels like validation for everyone who believes that our differences make us stronger, not weaker." The camera captured the royal couple's reaction. Both were visibly moved, with Catherine nodding emphatically and William applauding with particular enthusiasm. Their response wasn't performative, it was the genuine reaction of people who understood and appreciated the significance of the moment. Okafor continued, looking directly at William and Catherine, "Your Royal Highnesses, seeing how you've engaged with our community tonight, how you've listened to voices that are often overlooked, how you've demonstrated that leadership means connection rather than separation, it gives me hope for the kind of country we're building together." As she left the stage with her award, the standing ovation continued for nearly 2 minutes. It felt like acknowledgement not just of her achievement, but of the entire evening's transformation of what royal engagement could look like. James Corden returned to the stage for the ceremony's conclusion, but instead of the standard thank you remarks, he chose to address what everyone in the room was feeling. "Ladies and gentlemen, we came here tonight to celebrate British film, and we're leaving having witnessed something much more significant. We've seen what happens when barriers come down, when authentic connection replaces formal obligation, and when people in positions of influence choose to use that influence to build bridges rather than maintain distances." He looked directly at the royal couple. "Your Royal Highnesses, you have shown us tonight what modern leadership looks like. Not the kind that commands from above, but the kind that engages from within. Thank you for reminding us that the best traditions are the ones that evolve while keeping their heart intact." The final applause was thunderous, but it was interrupted by something unprecedented. Marcus Thompson, the Young Rising Star Award winner, stood up and began clapping specifically for William and Catherine. Within seconds, other young attendees joined him, then established professionals, then the entire audience. What emerged was a standing ovation specifically for the royal couple, not because protocol demanded it, but because they had earned it through their authentic engagement throughout the evening. William and Catherine appeared genuinely surprised by the response. They stood briefly to acknowledge the applause, but their body language suggested humility rather than expectation. Catherine was photographed mouthing thank you to various sections of the audience, while William placed his hand over his heart in a gesture of genuine gratitude. As the ceremony officially concluded and attendees began to move toward the exits, something remarkable occurred. Instead of the usual rush to leave, people lingered. The venue became filled with organic conversations, networking connections, and the kind of energized community feeling typically associated with much smaller, more intimate gatherings. The royal couple's departure became its own event. Rather than the formal exit typically associated with royal appearances, they spent nearly an hour moving through the venue, continuing conversations, meeting people they had connected with throughout the evening, and ensuring that those who had shared their stories or achievements felt truly heard and acknowledged. A production assistant who had worked BAFTA ceremonies for over a decade later described the scene. "I've never seen anything like it. Usually when the ceremony ends, it's all about getting the VIPs out quickly and efficiently. But their Royal Highnesses seemed determined to make sure they connected with as many people as possible. They weren't rushing through crowd control, they were building relationships." One of the most touching moments came when they encountered Emma, the young girl from outside the venue, who had been invited in as a guest during intermission after her interaction with Catherine had gained widespread social media attention. The princess knelt down to Emma's level once again, asking about her experience watching the ceremony and whether she had enjoyed seeing all the movie people. Emma's response, captured by nearby photographers, would become one of the most shared moments of the entire evening. "It was magical, just like in the movies. But the best part was that you remembered my name." William joined the conversation, asking Emma what her favorite part of the evening had been. Her answer surprised everyone within earshot. "I liked watching you and Princess Catherine talk to all the different people. My mummy says that's what good grown-ups do, they make everyone feel important." The simplicity and honesty of the child's observations seemed to crystallize what many adults had been feeling throughout the evening. The royal couple hadn't just attended an awards ceremony, they had demonstrated a model of leadership based on genuine engagement and inclusive community building. As they finally made their way toward the exit, the royal couple was accompanied by an informal procession of industry professionals, young filmmakers, and creative artists who had been part of the evening's conversations. Rather than feeling like a formal departure, it resembled the natural conclusion of a successful community gathering. Outside the venue, the scene that greeted them was unlike typical royal departures. The crowd that had waited throughout the ceremony wasn't just seeking glimpses of celebrity, they were responding to something they had witnessed through social media and news coverage throughout the evening. The signs and banners reflected the change. Instead of generic royal tributes, many read messages like "Thank you for listening," "Real royalty connects," and "This is our future." As William and Catherine paused once more to interact with the waiting crowd, their security detail adapted seamlessly to accommodate extended engagement. The couple moved through the barriers, shaking hands, accepting flowers, and continuing conversations that built on the evening's themes of connection and community. One elderly gentleman, who had waited in the cold for over 8 hours, managed to catch William's attention. "Your Highness," he called out, "I've been following the royal family for 70 years, and tonight reminded me why the monarchy matters. Not because of ceremony or tradition, but because of moments like these when you choose to really see people." William's response, overheard by nearby journalists, would be quoted extensively in the following day's coverage: "Sir, the privilege is entirely ours. Evenings like this remind us why this role exists, not to be separate from community, but to help strengthen it." The drive back to Kensington Palace provided William and Catherine with their first private moment to reflect on the evening's events. According to later interviews, they were both struck by how natural the interactions had felt and how energized they were by the connections they had made. Catherine later described the evening to close friends as transformative, not just for their public roles, but for their understanding of how they could use their platform to build authentic bridges between communities that might not otherwise intersect. William reportedly told his private secretary the following day that the evening had reset the standard for how they would approach future public engagements. The success wasn't measured in media coverage or protocol adherence, but in genuine connections made and community relationships strengthened. Within hours of the ceremony's conclusion, social media was flooded with content from the evening. But rather than the typical celebrity photos and gossip, the dominant themes were respect, inspiration, and hope. The hashtags #RealRoyalty and #BridgesWeAll emerged organically, used by people sharing their own stories of the evening's impact. Film industry professionals began sharing behind-the-scenes moments that hadn't been captured by official cameras. William discussing funding challenges with independent filmmakers, Catherine offering specific advice about children's media literacy programs, both royals showing genuine curiosity about technical aspects of filmmaking that most public figures would politely ignore. The evening's success was measured not just in immediate response, but in lasting impact. Several production companies announced new initiatives inspired by conversations they had had with the royal couple. Funding organizations reported increased applications for programs supporting young and diverse filmmakers. Film schools across the country saw spikes in enrollment inquiries from students inspired by the evening's demonstration that the arts could be a vehicle for meaningful social engagement. Perhaps most significantly, other members of the royal family began requesting briefings on the evening's approach, hoping to incorporate similar authentic engagement strategies into their own public roles. The success had created a new template for how modern royalty could function in the 21st century. 3 weeks after the ceremony, the Royal Foundation announced a new initiative supporting British film education in underserved communities, directly inspired by conversations from the BAFTA evening. The program would provide equipment, training, and mentorship opportunities, with William and Catherine committing to regular hands-on involvement rather than ceremonial patronage. The 2026 BAFTAs would be remembered not just as an award ceremony, but as a pivotal moment in the evolution of modern monarchy. It demonstrated that authentic leadership in the contemporary world requires genuine connection, active listening, and the courage to step beyond traditional boundaries while maintaining essential values. The evening had proven that the most powerful kind of influence comes not from authority or celebrity, but from the simple act of seeing others as fully human and responding to them with genuine care and interest. In an age of manufactured moments and calculated public relations, the royal couple had achieved something remarkable. They had been completely, authentically themselves, and, in doing so, had reminded everyone present of their own capacity for connection and community.